The question is that the motion be agreed to. I call Claire Curran.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Pleasure to speak in the third reading of this bill, the Civil Defence Emergency Management Amendment Bill. I too would like to acknowledge the Honourable Nikki Kay and her work in this area and in general in civil defence and the work of the committee. I also want to acknowledge the good work of the officials and PCO. There was good work. I don't say that every time I get up and speak on a bill, but there was good work done, and I think that the bill is better for it. And the New Zealand public listening tonight or watching tonight can be a little bit more reassured that New Zealand is more prepared for emergencies and for the recovery phase in emergencies. It was a very good committee, and I'm going to give a very short recap on the key elements of the bill and how we approached the bill on this side of the House in the Labour Party. We supported the intent of the bill right from the beginning, which was to improve the way that communities recover from emergencies and for there to be a seamless and timely transition from response to recovery. Of course, that's a no-brainer, but we did end up with some concerns during the Select Committee process when the bill came to Select Committee, because largely those were concerns focused around the balance between ministerial powers and consultation with communities and the ability for local governance to be able to exercise decision-making without being overridden by ministerial powers, and how that communication could work better. And I think that the bill is better for the work that was done in the committee on that. We also noted that the bill is the first stage of a wider review being undertaken into the legislative framework in this whole area for recovery. This bill focuses on small to medium-sized events, which are still, and I don't want to diminish the importance of those because they still have huge impact in the communities that they affect. Every year there is several events that occur in different communities around our country that have lasting impacts, and this bill will make dealing with them and recovering from them better, but this bill does not address the bigger events and the work that we need to do around that. And my message tonight to the government is we need to hurry up and get that process started, and how that engagement with the community happens, and engagement right across the community with all the important stakeholders. And I really do urge the government to give us a bit more detail about that. And I know that during the committee stage, the Acting Minister, Jerry Brownlee, gave us a little bit of a clue and said some positive things about that. So our ears are open and we're ready to have discussions on that and to ensure that all of our communities are. We did retain some concerns about the bill when it came back from Select Committee to the House, and we proposed a supplementary order paper which the government supported, and as did all the other parties, and it was generally a good decision and a good agreement. That SOP required the Civil Defence Emergency Management Plan prepared by a Civil Defence and Management Group to state and provide for strategic recovery planning. This was originally in the bill at the first reading, then it got taken out during the discussions at Select Committee on the recommendations of officials. We've put it back in again, and while it's not specific about what those strategic recovery plans should include, it's there as a strong signal, and we believe that's important. Basically, there were other issues, other matters that we discussed a lot in the Select Committee, the inclusion of a permanent legislative authority, which we described as a sensible mechanism after having heard from Treasury about how that works in other areas, and it's a flexible mechanism for reimbursement of expenses during an emergency and providing ongoing authority for such expenditure. So we're pretty happy with this bill. I want to make a couple of observations, and I know that I won't get through, I'm sure, all of them before the end, but they are that there is more work to be done, that as I said, we hope that engagement will begin soon on how the next phase of this work will occur. There's also work to be done, Mr. Speaker, right around the country. There's 16 civil defence emergency management groups. There's work to be done in ensuring that they are fit for purpose. And this is not to be critical of them individually, but the world is changing. The way that New Zealand communities operate has changed, that the old style of civil defence emergency management in some areas that turned into personal fiefdoms has changed. It's absolutely critical that every single one of those 16 civil defence emergency management groups are as modern and that they have quality people, that the relationships and the networks that they have, that there are living plans, not just plans that have been written and then put on a shelf, because this is more about more than words on paper, that those living plans are tested and retested, that there is utmost professionalism, and that the resources that they bring, that they have the resources that they need when things go pear-shaped. Mr. Speaker, this is...
I'm sorry to interrupt the honourable member. The time has come for me to leave the chair. Members, this debate is interrupted and set down for resumption next sitting day, and the House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow. Good evening.